Hello class, it's Professor Streeter, and in this video I'm going to introduce you to the prompt for the second essay assignment in the ethics class. Before we look at that, let me just say a couple things. First, this is a chance for you to really explore an idea or a debate or a problem or an issue in ethics that really matters to you, that you've been thinking about this semester. I've given you some topics to choose from, but you can also come up with a topic of your own. And if you do that, I encourage you to reach out to me this week just to share the idea. So send me an email maybe before you write the proposal. But within the topics I've shared with you, there's a lot of ways to make it your own and to connect it to something you've already been thinking about, okay? So this is a chance to show me something about yourself and what you care about. You could look at the essay that way. Okay, let me turn to the prompt then. You can find it here in the week 9 content module. If you go to week 9 and you scroll down here to the essay 2 proposal, I've updated this prompt a little bit from the original one. This week, the goal is to begin a process of writing by selecting a topic. The topic has to be related to at least one thing we've read for the course, or something we will read in the remaining weeks. And as I said, there's a list of topics here in the prompt that I'll look at with you in a moment. But you can also construct one of your own. Your task then this week is to formulate the central question that you want to explore and explain how you plan to approach it. So it's kind of like a topic. I'm calling it a topic proposal. It should tell me what's your why. Like, what is the answer to the question why? Why do you want to write this paper? What's interesting about it? So what are you writing about? Why do you want to write about it? What's interesting about it? And you should aim for about half a page to a page of writing or a complete paragraph. Try to develop as much as you can by way of proposing your topic, framing your big questions, setting it up for me, relating it to something that we've read or that you have read, and giving me a little bit of a hook, right? Why do you want to write about this? What's interesting about it for you? Okay. You can begin that process in a Google Doc. So open up the Google Doc, give me editor status this week, and then when you are done editing your proposal, that's something you can then download as a PDF file and submit to this folder. You can find the folder up here by clicking assignments, and it will take you to this folder, okay, where you can submit this document. Okay, so here, if you click here, you can see the prompt itself. So it looks like this. All right, the aim by the end of the semester is to have about 5 pages of writing, or 1,500 words, around the same length as the first essay. Don't get too hung up on that right now. Right now you're focusing on the proposal. Okay, let me make this screen bigger. And think about structure, right? As you begin proposing an essay topic, make sure it's something that you can write a complete essay about, introducing it with a thesis. The body paragraphs will provide support for that thesis, and then you'll move toward a conclusion, thinking through the implications of your thesis with a list of works cited at the end. I want to see in this essay that you're applying at least 2 of the normative theories of right conduct that we've explored. So the natural law theory, utilitarianism, Kantianism, contractarianism, or the contract theory that we're looking at this week. And then next week we'll look at virtue theory. So whatever topic you explore or problem you want to resolve or question you want to answer in your essay, I need to see that you're applying one of these normative theories of right and wrong to your argument. Okay, so you can either do that by citing directly the sources in the ethical life, so Kant, for example, or O'Neill, or Mill, the utilitarian, or you could look at Schaefer-Landau's discussion of those theories in the Fundamentals of Ethics, or both. Okay, so that's part of what I want to see you citing in your essay. And so you should make reference to that in your proposal, in your list of works cited at the end of the proposal, make sure to mention one of the chapters from the Fundamentals of Ethics or the Ethical Life that develops one of these normative ethical theories. Okay, so at least 2 references from the required texts for the course, and then anything else you want to read, any other research you want to do. I'm encouraging you to do research of your own. The proposal then is going to count as homework 4, and that's something that you'll submit to the homework 4 folder, or the essay proposal folder, by the end of this week. If you need a little more time, let me know, but the longer you wait, the more you'll be rushing. So I want you to have time the rest of the semester to really develop an interesting argument. So that starts with proposing a topic this week. The rough draft then is going to be due at the end of the month, and then you'll have a little time between April 27th and the very end of class. May 8th is the last day of class. So that's the day that I'll ask you to submit your revision on May. So those are the deadlines. And then here are the topics. I'm not going to go through them all right now, but let me just sort of give you a basic framework. You can come up with a topic of your own. If that's something you're struggling with, then here's a couple of strategies you could take. The first strategy is to look at part 4 of the Ethical Life, which is titled Moral Problems, and choose a problem. For example, there's 2 essays on the moral status of animals, one by Norcross and one by Carruthers, and they defend different positions. So you could write an essay in which you enter into that debate, right? Where you develop an interpretation of Norcross and Carruthers and what they have to say about the status of animals and our responsibilities to other animals, and then develop a conclusion of your own. And here you'd be drawing on a normative theory. Carruthers, for example, is a social contract theorist. So you could appeal to the contract tradition as a way of explaining Carruthers' position or criticizing it. Norcross is more of a Kantian. Okay, that's just one example. There's many moral problems in part 4 of the Ethical Life. You could choose one that's interesting to you and just frame your essay as kind of entering into a debate that the authors in that section of the book are part of. Okay, and drawing a conclusion of your own. That's one way to think about this essay. The second strategy is to look at some of the cases for critical reflection at the ends of the chapters in the Fundamentals of Ethics. So I've given you page references there. Each chapter, at the end of each chapter, there are case studies. And you could select one of those case studies as like your central example and use that case study to illustrate why one normative theory makes more sense than the other. And then draw a conclusion of your own in which you're kind of making a claim about what we owe each other. You're answering the question, what kinds of responsibilities do we have toward each other, using the case study as your focus. So I've given you some examples from chapter 6, chapter 10, chapter 12, chapter 14, chapter 15, 17, and 18. Look at the ends of those chapters and see if any of those case studies sound interesting to you. And that could be a way for you to get started writing your proposal. Okay, those are 2 strategies you could take that in which you're kind of focusing on something from the book and moving out from there to an argument of your own. I've also given you some specific topics. If neither of those strategies are promising to you, I've given you some specific topics. You could write about reproductive rights and women's autonomy. And here I've given you some questions within each topic that could frame your discussion. But your goal as a writer will be to raise a question of your own that's going to be the focal point of your essay, or put it in your own words, right? Own the question, make it your own. After each of these suggested topics, I've given some relevant readings from the Ethical Life. There's a piece by Thompson, Marquis, and Foote in the section on abortion. And so that could form the basis of your argument. You could look at what those philosophers have said about reproductive rights and women's autonomy and see where you want to go from there. Okay, so you could go through this on your own. I'm not going to work through it all in this video, but there's other suggested topics on this prompt. And so you could choose one of those suggested topics. Okay, and if you choose those topics, you'll have to look at the relevant readings that I've pointed you toward, and that would form the basis of your argument. where you would be referencing those texts and engaging with those arguments and developing a response of your own. Okay. So again, that's the assignment. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me by email. We will also talk about this during the class on Wednesday, which will be at 12:30 on Wednesday. That's all for now. Thanks. Hope that was useful.